Two more things. The Department of Commerce is going to start issuing its statistics on the blockchain because you are the crypto president, and we are going to put out GDP on the blockchain so people can use the blockchain for data distribution, and then we're going to make that available to the entire government so all of you can do it. We're just ironing out all the details so we can do it. Patents.
So right after the Department of Commerce made this massive announcement, the crypto market is now pulling back, and they just published their Q2 GDP data on-chain across Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Tron, XLM, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Polygon, and Optimism, but not XRP. So in this video, we're going to talk about the XRP, the US dollar price chart. I have to compare back to my last video. We're also going to discuss the Wyckoff schematic here and what's happening on the price chart for XRP. We also need to break down the price chart of one altcoin compared to Chainlink that is setting up for a massive move by the end of this year. Also, what's happening with the total altcoin market, and should you be worried on this dip with this pullback across the board? Or is this the best opportunity to back up the truck and accumulate more? Well, we have to talk about some very interesting data in regards to Bitcoin and how that will affect the rest of the market, with Bitcoin's market cap dominance compared to the entire altcoin market, and where we're at currently in this cycle, and realistically how much time we have left to make money in this bull run. So you guys are going to absolutely love this video. Make sure you give it a like and comment 777 below if you're feeling blessed, if you're feeling bullish, and as always, if you're going to become the first millionaire or billionaire in your family tree, if you're already a multimillionaire, then confirm it by tapping the subscribe button. Let's run it. All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So if you guys haven't joined our free Discord yet, the link for that will be in the description below. It's better in here because you'll be able to talk with each other, network, and also avoid the spam comments here on YouTube. And we're going to put some stuff in here for you guys that will be more exclusive than what we offer on the YouTube channel. So if you want to connect, if you want to network, if you want to grow with our community, plug in here, and we're going to have some exciting announcements over the next 30 days for you guys that we've been building behind the scenes. So in today's video, we need to discuss about what just took place recently, because transparency has been a big issue, especially in the government, with insider traders like Nancy Pelosi, certain politicians accepting payments or bribes from corporations to do what they want. And with the US Department of Commerce publishing this Q2 GDP data across different blockchains, with XRP not being on there, it leaves a lot of people to question, well, are they abandoning XRP? And people are even asking us, should they sell XRP? Should they put it into stuff like Chainlink or other altcoins? So let's talk about this post right here, because I've been seeing a lot of negativity around XRP, specifically with people that I actually know in the crypto space as well too, that are extremely anti-XRP. Now, with the masses out there laughing, saying, see, XRP wasn't included in this, let's dissect this, because the reality is XRP isn't here because XRP is the data rail, it's the settlement rail. The other crypto blockchains carry information, XRP will carry the money. So if we think about it, GDP feeds are public info. They're great for oracles, algos, and DeFi experiments. That's why it's on Ethereum, Solana, etc. But when it comes to linking GDP, programmable finance, you need real settlements. You need a compliant, neutral bridge asset, and that's XRP. So why wasn't it included today? Well, it's because they prepped this stuff beforehand before they announce it, and because until the SEC case was closed, no US agency would risk the optics of publishing federal data on the XRP ledger. And now that the lawsuit is finished, the path is clear, the silence was cover fire. And if we look at the layers being built, GDP on chain is real-time macroeconomic input. ISO 222 is the standard messaging already running through Ripple corridors. In my previous video, I talked about DNA protocol on the XRP ledger from BlackRock, anchoring the WHO, which is biometric and genomic identity. Plus, Ripple has their banking license through the OCC, which is custody and settlement for trillions of dollars. So the exclusion of XRP from this isn't weakness, it isn't abandonment, it's actually strategy here. XRP isn't just meant to be just another, cryptocurrency on a blockchain with data feeds. It's the hidden core of the financial system, the ledger of value. The rails governments won't name until the reset is irreversible. So a lot of people that are hyper-focused in their little lane here in their echo chambers in the crypto market, they're distracted by projects like Ethereum, Solana, GDP oracles, whereas the elites are quietly seeding the XRP ledger as the backbone for global settlement, where GDP identity and liquidity coverage converge. So when the switch flips, the data won't matter, the money will matter, and that money will run through XRP. And so when we go to DeFiLlama.com, the biggest argument is that there's virtually nothing happening on the XRP ledger, because if we look at the total value locked in terms of DeFi, it's $152 billion. If we go to Ethereum right here, we can see it's $91 billion. Solana has $11 billion. Binance Smart Chain, $7 billion. Tron is at $6. The base chain is at $4 billion. Even Arbitrum is at $3 billion. Sui is at $2 billion. You name it, the list goes on and on and on. But when we search the XRP ledger, it only has $94 million in total value locked. And if you look right here in terms of DeFi, it's virtually dead. In terms of fees in 24 hours, we're talking about $563 on OpenEden here and $559 on Thorchain's DEX. So XRP clearly is not the chosen crypto of DeFi world. So that's why a lot of DeFi investors that are investing in, Solana, Hyperliquid, you name it, talk so much trash about XRP because of stuff like this. So how could it be that XRP, the second largest altcoin by market cap with $168 billion, has less than $100 million in total value locked, or something like Arbitrum, with a market cap of only $2.6 billion, has over $3 billion in total value locked? And so these disparities aren't accidental, and they stem from fundamental differences in design, ecosystem development, and adoption focus. So this is a massive thing that a lot of people in DeFi aren't focused on. That's number one, primary design focus on payments, not on this little DeFi ecosystem in crypto. For example, if we go on Google Trends, if we just search the word DeFi right here, and we look from 2004 till today, DeFi has been increasing relative to the past, obviously. But when we compare it to something like ACH, you can see there's a much more rapid increase in payments from banks. Or if I just remove ACH and I put Swift in place right here, you can see how much bigger Swift is than the entire DeFi ecosystem. It's not even comparable, because Swift is the dominant global messaging network for interbank transactions, connecting over 11,000 financial institutions in over 200 countries, and trillions of dollars flows through Swift every single day. And so if we're talking about the whole entire industry in terms of total value locked at $150 billion, but yet Swift is moving trillions of dollars a day, then how will that affect XRP sitting at only $168 billion market cap? Well, I think this guy right here, who actually used to work at Swift, is onto something right here.
I used to work for Swift. I was Swift for 20 years, so Swift is flowing through my veins. Swift is the preeminent messaging system for the financial industry, which covers, say, payments, FX, trade, in terms of securities, etc., Nostra reconciliations, etc. What we're looking with the crypto, though, is where Swift would have a store and forward system for most of its payment transactions, where you need service level agreements that in a certain time I will do something, the payment turns up at a certain time during the day. Here we're looking at the new network styles, which allow instant, real-time movement of the funds and visibility of those funds as well. So we would not have a situation where banks need to come back to you and say, have my funds arrived? It's 3 days later. I need to find out or find query messages moving around the network. There's nothing like that. I don't believe Ripple is going to replace Swift. Ripple is one of the complementary networks, which is going to allow those institutions who need real time to make use of that. And I think we're also seeing that Swift are changing their network capability so that real time will be a possibility as well. But we may also see Ripple XRP moving across the Swift network as a currency when we're perhaps using something like FX.
So for context here, the XRP ledger's total value locked at less than $100 million. You compare that obviously to the total value locked of the whole entire DeFi industry at over $150 billion. But total value locked isn't the right metric for payment-focused ledgers like XRP. It's more about transaction volume and efficiency in sectors like remittances or international transfers, which dwarf DeFi in scale but don't require locking assets. Because DeFi Llama calculates total value locked by aggregating the value of digital assets locked in a DeFi protocol smart contract, typically denominated in US dollars for standardization. So what they do is they collect the data directly from the blockchain protocol by interacting with their smart contracts or through APIs, and they pull real-time data on the quantity of each asset locked, like the cryptocurrencies, stablecoins, or token used for staking, lending, or liquidity pools. And so for the XRP ledger specifically, this just shows how much Ripple is focused on a completely different market for cross-border transactions rather than locking assets for DeFi activities like lending or yield farming. That's why there's little to no passive income protocols on the XRP ledger. There are a few, but nothing compared to Ethereum or Solana. So when we ask AI roughly what percentage of the population that has a bank account owns crypto, Grok says that as of recent estimates, about 76% of the global adult population, which is about 5.9 billion adults, have a bank account or access to formal financial services, which translates to roughly 4.5 billion adults with bank accounts. And in 2024, approximately 562 million people worldwide own cryptocurrency, equating to 6.8% of the global population. So if we're talking about less than 10% of the global population owning crypto, and total value locked on DeFi Llama across all chains of $152 billion, and the XRP ledger having less than 100 million of that. This is what I mean by echo chamber, because a percentage of this percentage right here knows what DeFi is. Well, this number should theoretically grow above 10% and then eventually above 20% over the next few years, which is going to cause the total value locked across the whole industry to go up in value. That's just inevitable. So DeFi projects will increase. But if we look right here at this document quoted from Swift's CEO, he said that I think the big part of Ripple's value proposition is the cryptocurrency XRP. There we do find the banks are hesitant to convert things into cryptocurrency right now because of the volatility in the currencies. And another reason why Swift has been hesitant, not willing to use cryptocurrencies, is because of the legal status of XRP and other cryptocurrencies remain unclear due to the current uncertain regulatory environment. Risk-adverse financial institutions are unlikely to adopt cryptocurrencies until regulations become clear. And it's interesting how the CEO of SBI Global Asset Management, Tomoya Asakura, said, XRP is not just another crypto, this is the wealth transfer of our generation. And SBI Global Asset Management is a publicly traded company with a market capitalization of approximately 59 billion JPY. And if you didn't watch my previous video where I played this clip from Brian Armstrong, institutions are sitting on the sidelines right now, holding a very small fraction of their assets under management in the crypto market. And this is what they've been waiting for.
We're starting to see regulatory clarity emerge in the United States, which I think is a bellwether for the rest of the G20. You have the Genius Act passed now for stablecoins, but this market structure bill is being debated in the Senate. Fingers crossed, something could happen by the end of this year. That would be a huge milestone. The United States government now has a strategic Bitcoin reserve. So that is, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, that would have been kind of like vision board. Someone would have said, you're crazy, like the United States government's not going to officially hold Bitcoin. But if they do that, which there's now an executive order to do, I think a bunch of other countries are going to do that. We've seen a lot of interest from sovereigns, right? I think Coinbase actually provides crypto services to about 140 government entities, believe it or not, like at both federal, state, local, and internationally. So governments are now getting more and more engaged in this. And you can imagine the big pools of capital around the world. And I don't see the regulatory thing going away. That was one of the big risks, is the government going to shut this down? I think that risk has been severely diminished. And at the same time, the amount of demand, like the amount of institutional money just sitting on the sidelines waiting for this next bill to land, these are the big institutions I talk to, they're holding 1% of the portfolio in Bitcoin. And I'm like, what would it be to 5 to 10? And they say, regulatory clarity, that's it.
And if you listen to what Donald Trump said right here in this speech, he is speaking directly to the problem that Ripple and XRP solves.
Many Americans are unaware that behind the scenes, the technical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date, many, many years out of date. You know that. Paul and others are straightening it out, but payments and money transfers are costly and take days or even weeks to clear. Under this bill, the entire ancient system will be eligible for a 21st century upgrade using the state-of-the-art crypto technology. Who would have thought we would have been saying that?
So if XRP and Ripple's technology theoretically solves this cross-border payments problem, then why is XRP's price selling off? Well, it's because of how all of these projects are tied together in terms of liquidity by market makers, portfolio capital companies, add multiple crypto assets to their portfolio, and if they were to sell one, they sell all at the same time. For example, you can see like YZI Labs portfolio has $2.7 trillion market cap under categories on CoinMarketCap. World Liberty Financial portfolio as well too, has almost $1 trillion. DWF Labs portfolio, 64 billion. And there used to be more listed on CoinMarketCap. They removed like the majority of them for some reason, but they used to have all the top market cap portfolio capital companies that had a basket of different currencies. So as one crypto sells off, the rest start to sell off because of market sentiment, liquidity, and leverage, where a sharp drop in one asset can lead to margin calls or liquidations, creating a domino effect. There's also massive amounts of algorithmic trading bots, triggering automatic sell orders in others based on predefined strategies, which is why when we see a pullback in XRP, we see a pullback in other altcoins as well too. So in my previous video 2 days ago, I talked about this pullback for XRP from $3, and that was right about here on the chart. Now we did pull back a little bit further, and now we're back down to about $2.81 back at this previous level that we sold off to on the 25th of August, and all the way at this support as well too on the 22nd of August. So XRP needs to hold these levels right here. And really the last line of defense is like $2.73. If we drop below that, I mean, it could get pretty nasty. We could drop down to $2.60. This is the next support all the way back here at these levels between 260 and 265 that we were at all the way back here in March of 2025. So based on the Whitecalf schematic right here, we're somewhere between phase B and phase D, where we could either be right here in phase C, bouncing off of this spring right here and just going through this test phase before we transition to phase D in this washing machine like price action before we eventually break out of here for the last point of support, before we see some sign of strength here, just kind of chopping around sideways here before we go higher. Or we're at the tail end of phase B right here, chopping around after getting sold off from these levels of resistance here, all the way up here on the 8th of August at $3.35, getting ready to finish up this spring phase, dropping one final time down to around the $2.60 to $2.65 region before we then go through this test phase in phase C to eventually last point of support, and then inevitably a sign of strength back up to $3.35. So this is why it's important to always have some dry powder on the sidelines in case something like this happens and we do experience another dip, which I actually did talk about right here about a week ago as XRP kept getting rejected from this descending resistance. And we see where this neckline was at about $2.60 as support, acted as major resistance right here in the middle of May. So I would not be surprised if XRP does a flush out of a lot of leveraged long traders that have their stop loss set somewhere around $2.70 to liquidate them, bounce off of this rounded bottom formation right here before we see a recovery back to the upside. Also, if we put up the 200 moving average here on the daily chart as well too in blue, you can see that would probably be right in contact with the 200 moving average, similar to right here on the 7th of April where we saw this aggressive bounce off of it. And also, if we bring up the stochastic RSI and the relative strength index, you can see that the stochastic RSI is at 50 and 48 right here, right in the middle. And the relative strength index has been in a downtrend since the 19th of July, since that pullback. And we're sitting at about 42 right now, holding on for dear life to this support. So I would not be shocked if we saw a reset in the stochastic RSI back down below 20. And also the relative strength index to come down closer to 30 or even below 30 on a liquidation event like this, because of what I'm going to share with you when we look at Bitcoin's price chart. But first, before we look at Bitcoin's price chart, Chainlink partnered with the U.S. Department of Commerce to bring official macroeconomic data on chain. And also the Department of Commerce will begin posting real GDP data on Polygon too. So when we compare Chainlink's chart to Polygon, we can see something very interesting here. During the sell-off back here from December of 2024 at the top of the screen, we can see A, B, C corrective wave down to the bottom for Chainlink. We pretty much saw the same thing for Polygon. We see it sold off from 76 cents down to about 40 cents. We saw the short-term recovery rally, and then the C wave all the way down here to the bottom, roughly around pretty much the exact same time when Chainlink bottomed out. Then what did we see happen here? We saw a recovery all the way back to this neckline right here for both of these projects. And I'll just put an arrow on both of them so you can see what I'm looking at here. And sure enough, both Chainlink and Polygon sold back off to another low right here. Chainlink's low was on the 22nd of June at about $11, and Polygon's low was at about 16 cents at the exact same time. Now, when Chainlink made this recovery from that low, it cleared the neckline, rallied all the way up here to about $20, sold back off into the neckline a little bit below it, and then drastically surged from there. Whereas Polygon rallied back into the neckline, didn't break above it, and then sold back off to form what looks like a triple bottom here. And then with Chainlink bouncing drastically to the upside with the recent news about integrations and using Link exploded to the upside to come back to retest the complacency stage high of phase B on this recovery rally. Whereas Polygon on the bottom of the screen didn't. It barely bounced back up to the neckline. We're just consolidating right here below the neckline from the 10th of May, building up higher lows here as we coil up. So looking at this chart right here, it looks like Polygon is getting ready for a major move to come back into this zone up here, roughly between 40 cents to 50 cents. And that's likely where it faced next major resistance, similar to what happened with Chainlink up here as it back tested the complacency stage B. This is the next stop for Polygon when it makes a major move. But in order for that to happen, there's something that would need to take place because this chart setup is looking very good. Even if we see a liquidation flush in XRP and a further sell-off across the whole industry to sweep out these lows down here before we make that move, I do think that move will come, and it'll happen if there's a breakout in total too, inevitably leading to a breakout for others. Because as you can see right here, we're in this symmetrical triangle pretty much right at these levels that we were at back here in December of 2024. And if I zoom out even further on the 1 week chart, you can see this pullback in the market is very, very small right now. bringing us to about $1.55 trillion here. And we are still up here at these levels that we were all the way back in 2021. So we haven't gone into price discovery for total 2. Now, it's very interesting because if we look at the Bitcoin stock to flow model here, before we get into Bitcoin's dominance compared to altcoins, we can see that we have transitioned from yellow to now light green. And if we look back at the last cycle, when we transitioned from yellow to light green, we were right around here after bouncing from about $42,000 to $52,000, little short-term pullback, and then rallying to the all-time high of $67,000. Whereas the cycle before then, we were right around here pulling back from $5,000 to about $3,200 and then rallying all the way upwards of nearly $20,000. So in my opinion, I think we're somewhere right around here in Bitcoin's market cycle experiencing the last major pullback before we go to the all-time high. And depending on how deep this pullback is, I think the next move for Bitcoin is what brings us above all-time highs. And when we see the great rotation in altcoins, it will come with this breakdown further in Bitcoin's dominance. Because right now, we're right at about 58%. And if you look at the last cycle when Bitcoin's dominance topped out right here on the 28th of December, and we just saw it decline from there, we saw the sharp sell-off, little consolidation right here until really the middle of March or the tail end of March, early April. Then we saw this major breakdown right here take place. So what we're seeing right now is this first initial sell-off for Bitcoin's dominance right here, causing the altcoin market at the bottom of the screen to experience its rally back to the all-time high. As you can see right now from the bottom of the screen, we've seen the altcoin market break out from about $1 trillion to 1.5, and it's right at its previous all-time high of 2021. Similar to the last cycle, when we saw Bitcoin's dominance break down, the altcoin market rallied back to its previous all-time high from January of 2018. And it wasn't until we saw this drop in Bitcoin's dominance from 60% down to 40%, that's when we saw the crypto total market cap excluding Bitcoin rally from about $450 billion up here to $1.5 trillion. It was a great rotation. And then we saw a bounce to the upside for Bitcoin's dominance back here to about 48%, and that was a sell-off in altcoins back down to about $600 billion. And then Bitcoin's dominance just kind of washing machine down here for a while until we reached the bear market lows for Bitcoin and altcoins, where money rotated from altcoins right here on the 12th of July as Bitcoin's dominance rallied back from about 38% to 49%. That's when altcoins sold off. Then when Bitcoin's dominance dropped from that 49% to back to 39%, altcoins made their all-time high. So I think that's what's coming next after Bitcoin's dominance makes this initial move down. I think that's when altcoins see this surge to the upside. That's when XRP finally does make its move back into price discovery. That's when Polygon finally experiences a breakout back between 40 and 50 cents. That's when Chainlink goes into price discovery as well too. So I think when this happens and Bitcoin's dominance experiences this major breakdown, it's pretty much a wrap for altcoins at this point. And if we look at Bitcoin Rainbow Price Chart Indicator here, we can see based on fire sale to maximum bubble territory, we're right here in the accumulate zone. After the accumulate zone, it's still cheap, and that's anywhere between $140,000 to $190,000. So we don't know where Bitcoin tops out this cycle, but it's clear based on this that we're nowhere near maximum bubble territory. I mean, that's $650,000 to $700,000. I don't think we're making it up that high this bull run cycle because, as you can see, law of diminishing returns each cycle. Bitcoin has been less and less parabolic. The most parabolic was obviously back here in like 2011. We were well above the maximum bubble territory. Then by 2013, we were still above it, but not as high as the previous cycle. Then in 2017, we just tapped the top of it. Then in 2021, we didn't even make it to it. So now this cycle, theoretically, we may make it to light green to yellow, $150,000 to $200,000. So when this breakdown takes place, it's going to happen very, very fast. If I just clear the chart for you guys, and if we just measure how quick this breakdown was from right here to the low is about 49 days. So less than 2 months, we saw Bitcoin's dominance drop 35%. And we saw the altcoin market explode over 100% within that same 50 days, past the all-time high. And so right now we're like a whale getting closer and closer to the surface with Bitcoin's dominance. And when we see that breakdown take place over the course of a couple of months, by December of this year, things are going to look drastically different than they've looked over the past 2 years. And so you have to be ready for that by positioning yourself in the right projects and having a solid diversification strategy. Because let's say, for example, XRP takes till 2030 for the true value to be realized through the SWIFT network because of the payment rails needing a few more years to be ready after the ISO 20022 standard goes live globally in November. Well, that could be happening right at the peak of the market. And then based on these mass liquidations, these leverage traders, this domino effect of this sell-off going into the bear market, regardless of XRP being used, it could still get hit and see one of the gnarliest crashes in the bear market along with Chainlink and everything else. So you just need to be ready for that. And that's why we created Altcoin Pro University, to prepare you guys for what's to come, for everything in the DeFi market, everything in the real world asset market, artificial intelligence projects. So for the people out there that only hold XRP, it's important to have a strong diversification strategy. That way you don't have all your eggs in one basket. And so you can be able to make more money to be able to rotate into other productive assets like real estate, farmland, you name it. For example, our research team posted GOAT on the 13th of October of 2024 when it was right at a penny, and since then it rallied to over $1, 5,000%. That's like turning $1,000 into over $50,000. Our team called Pendle at only a $16 million market cap, or 16 cents, back on February 18th of 2023, all the way back here, and since then it's rallied up over 4,000%. That's a 40x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $40,000. Our team also called BitTensor Tau September 15th, 2022, before the token was ever even launched. And since then, Tau has rallied over 2,000%. That's a 20x. Our team even said Solana is most likely to be one of the easiest trades next year, and this was posted December 29th, 2022, on the day that Solana bottomed out at around $8. And since then, Solana looks like it's up over 2,500%. That's a 25x. It's like turning $1,000 into over $25,000. The list goes on and on and on. Our team called Sui, Ondo, and even some of the biggest cult-based meme coins like MOG back in July 20th of 2023, the day that MOG launched. So if you want to learn how our team is finding these altcoins before they explode, we just launched Altcoin Pro University, where our research team gives you real-time altcoin picks with explosive potential for this bull run, along with 100+ expert curated classes crafted by industry experts to discover these gems yourself, on top of our live weekly calls every single week for in-depth crypto market analysis and daily updates. And that's just a fraction of what we offer inside of Altcoin Pro University through the link below. And although we make no guarantees because crypto is definitely risky, guys, this is only $97 a month or $970 a year. If you want to save $194, getting 2 months for free and unlock some exclusive bonuses, just go through the link in the description below. Get in right now. Watch the 26-minute video covering everything that Altcoin Pro University offers to help you become the first millionaire in your family tree, if that's a goal of yours. And you can get started through the link in the description below right now, or you can go to bullrunners.com to take advantage of the bonuses we're giving you before they expire. Everyone is loving the community. They're loving the education. They're getting access to real-time altcoin picks first before we ever make videos about them. So click the link in the description below, watch the video, and I'll see you on the inside.